Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back. Our guest today is a very good friend, Mark Yaxley. He is the Managing Director at Strategic Wealth Preservation. Welcome back, Mark.
Yeah, I've been good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I wanted to get you down to talk about what's happening in the gold and the silver markets, everything that's happening, in the financial markets, geopolitically. First, though, let's start off with our good old silver and gold bullion. Right now, gold is at the 3,300 mark. You're looking at silver; it's about to hit $35. What are your thoughts right now on the precious metals?
Yeah, you have to be pretty happy, Ivan, if you're a precious metals investor this year. Gold's up 29% on the year so far. Silver's not too far behind at 20%. And even platinum and palladium, which have been just struggling over the last couple of years, platinum up 17%. So if you're a metals investor, you're definitely enjoying the ride so far in 2025.
And what about what are your thoughts on Florida? Florida just came out recently, and their Ron DeSantis said, you know what, we're making gold as we're realizing it as gold tender. You could now use gold to buy and to as legal tender. And you're seeing, I think there's only three or four states left in all of the U.S. That are still not recognized gold as legal tender. But what are your thoughts on Florida making it legal tender?
Yeah, it's a trend we've seen over the last couple of years. You nailed it. There's been more and more states that are either recognizing gold and silver bullion as legal tender, or, maybe more importantly for investors, they're removing the state sales tax from for the purchase of bullion. So, previously you might have paid 7% on top of your purchase, which is like, for me, that's a showstopper. I wouldn't want to pay 7% on top of my gold and silver.
Right.
I think it's a great thing. It's definitely a trend we're seeing in the U.S. market, and it kind of reflects the bigger picture right now. Something we might talk a little bit about today, Ivan, is like the whole role of gold and silver is really starting to morph over the last 6 months since Trump came into power. That's the macro trend right now is just the whole repositioning of gold and silver in the economy.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask you, in an era of digital currencies, blockchains, all the, stocks and digital money, how do you see gold and silver maintaining their relevance as stores of value and hedge against, systematic risk?
Yeah, I mean, a lot can be said about the convenience of digital products of cryptocurrencies. I'm supportive personally, and I've found ways to use crypto in my portfolio for our business in accepting cryptocurrency and settling in cryptocurrency. But at the end of the day, central bankers, large corporations, they like things to be kept simple, and gold and silver, gold in particular, has that simplicity and that predictability and that trust as a hard asset that they're looking for right now. And up until very recently, the U.S. Treasury was kind of that strong competing safe haven asset. And even the U.S. Treasury, which, God, 6 months ago, if you had said like if there's one place you put your money, if you were either a central banker or you were a large corporation, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go buy treasuries. And now that's changing, and gold is actually coming to the forefront again as the preferred structural asset. So it's a major move for gold and silver at the moment, and I think the price is really pent up to even go higher than it is right now.
Absolutely. And looking beyond 2025, Mark, how do you envision the integration of gold and silver into, the next generation of financial products?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of development work being done right now. There's some great applications that already exist where you can own gold and silver kind of in a digital format. You can buy it on your smartphone. There's some blockchain technology, some projects that are quite far along, others that are, in work right now where you're basically they're trying to trace the provenance of gold and silver from the mine all the way to the consumer. That's a pretty large
Yeah.
undertaking. All of that's going to continue. I think there's definitely some work still to be done, but there's a place for all of that. But at the end of the day, Ivan, none of that is really worth much without the underlying asset of gold and silver, and so it's really an old school asset merging with technology, and I think that's just you're just going to see a continuation of that in the future.
Yeah, and you know what you mentioned technologies and like there's so many new technologies, emerging technologies like AI and automation on the industrial demand for silver as well. And like, do you think this could create a structural shift in silver supply demand balance? Like you see military applications, new automations, they all need silver, AI, all this new technology needs more and more silver. Do you think that will, yeah, affect the structural shift in silver supply?
It could. I mean, we've seen, a steady increase in the demand for silver, which is, really, really positive. Where, if you compare that, for example, to the platinum group metals, which are used, not exclusively, but a large percentage of platinum group metals are used really for one industrial purpose, which is catalytic converters, which one could argue are, eventually going to go away as we go more electric. If that happens, I'm not an expert in the electric vehicle sector, but that seems to be the general trend. But the point I'm trying to make, the comparable is silver has such a diverse number of applications. You mentioned some medical being another, you've got the solar panels, which is increasingly popular all the time. So that's a really strong argument to own silver in your portfolio. It would be a little bit silly not to have silver in there, especially these days. I think we've broken through some pretty significant resistance points. $26 silver was a big one. $34 silver was another big one. So gold is now, they're calling for $4,000 gold by the end of the year. If that happens, you're looking at $40, $50 silver by the end of the year. So a lot of potential upside. You're going to want to have some in the portfolio.
Welcome to the Cayman Islands, a premier offshore jurisdiction where natural beauty meets financial stability. Here, your wealth is more than secure. It thrives in one of the most trusted and respected financial centers in the world. For over a decade, SWP has been the trusted choice for precious metal investors worldwide. Our purpose-built 6,000 square foot facility sets a new standard in precious metal storage. We are proud to be one of the only vault operators approved by the London Bullion Market Association. Beyond safeguarding your assets, we're committed to making a difference in our community by supporting local causes and events that reflect our values. As we continue to expand and innovate our services, we ensure that your wealth is safe and strategically positioned to shield you from the uncertainties that lie ahead. Strategic wealth preservation, trusted today and ready for tomorrow.
Absolutely. And looking back at like 2008, you've seen the financial collapse in the stock markets, and you had the banks were seriously at a close risk of just like incredible risk in the banking sector in 2008. Let's say in the next 2 to 3 years, we see another repeat of 2008, but on a global scale, it's much larger because there's so much more debt in the system. Uh, what happens to gold and silver? Obviously, we're going to see higher prices, but what kind of world do you envision when you start to really see central banks collapsing on a large scale globally? How would you react? How would investors react? How would people with gold and silver react? What would be your thought process?
Yeah, Ivan, you've known me for a little while. We've done interviews for a number of years. I'm not a gloom and doom guy. I've
Right.
always been somewhat of a neutral kind of person, and I hear both sides and I try to make sense of it. I'm feeling a little gloomy these days. From what I'm seeing, you've got the global economy is set for its worst year since COVID in terms of growth.
Right.
You've got major economies like the US, the UK, Japan are drowning in debt. The big beautiful bill just introduced more debt. Aside, it tried to kind of brush over it with Doge and some cuts that were fairly insignificant. Then they introduced this large bill that's adding trillions of dollars of debt. The US credit rating gets dropped. Treasuries are out of favor. It's like these are major, major shifts.
Yeah.
And listening to some of the guys that I trust and are much older than us, these are guys that are 70, 80 years old that have been following macroeconomics for decades, gold and silver since the 70s. They're like, this is going to be brutal. That's what I'm hearing from them. And so, it's starting to sink in just how grave the situation might be. So again, kind of goes back to that point I was making earlier. Gold is becoming really significant again. on a macro level. It's been in the shadows since 2011, essentially. It had brief moments during COVID, the outbreak of the war in Russia. It peaks its head, then it goes back into the shadows, and now it's right at the forefront. So I think it's really significant. You have to have it in your portfolio. If you don't, you keep missing the warning signs. I mean, we've been talking about it forever. And a lot of risk still exists. You've got the same geopolitical risk. Russia,
Yeah.
Ukraine is escalating again. So there's no peace. Trump has failed in that mission. Unfortunately, maybe not his job to begin with, but that's not working out. You've got US-China trade. They came to an agreement or some sort of understanding 2 weeks ago that's already at risk of failing.
Right.
And then you've got a weak US dollar behind all this, which is, all these commodities are priced in USD. So all of that is good for gold.
Yeah,
And
no. Hello, my fellow silver and gold stacker. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the channel. Subscribe, please like the video, and also hit the notification bell. Keep stacking. You absolutely nailed it. And before you go, Mark, I really want you to, there's so many young new people who are on this channel who have joined the community, who are looking up to, find some type of path in their life for the precious metals. What would be your little piece of guidance for them that could possibly change their life?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough go for, people who are in their 20s, 30s. Cost of living really high right now. You're facing all this, debt related news all the time. It's kind of a, an eerie outlook. Gold and silver can actually, be one of those, a little bit of the magic bullet in your portfolio, especially at a time like this. You've already seen those commodities up 29, 20% respectively this year.
Yeah.
There's probably more upside over the coming 6 months, 12 months. So if you're looking to add something to your portfolio that's going to give you a little bit of peace of mind and a return, I think it's a safe bet to be adding some ounces. Whatever you can afford, this is a good time to start and just keep adding on a cost average basis going forward.
Yeah, no, you nailed it, Mark. There's so much uncertainty, and like what you were mentioning with the credit rating for the U.S. Being downgraded, and there's so many like the geopolitical tensions that's not resolving itself, and it's looking pretty crazy and pretty gloomy out there. But I want to thank you so much for coming down and speaking to the silver, gold, and the investment community. Uh, where can people find you? I'll put the links to the description below for strategic wealth preservation. But is that where they can find you? Is there a LinkedIn? How can people connect with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, you can find Strategic Wealth Preservation on YouTube, on LinkedIn. I'm also on LinkedIn, of course, if you want to connect with me there. I don't do a whole lot of tweeting or Xing these days. Uh, the YouTube channel, I always mention it. We have some great educational videos. So again, if you're one of those young people, you like the idea of owning gold and silver and you want to learn kind of the basics, go to our YouTube channel and you will find some great videos on how to get started.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. It's such a huge pleasure having you come down to speaking to everyone. As the market develops, as always, the silver and gold market develops, would really love to have you back on.
Hey, thanks, Ivan. Always a pleasure.
Talk to you soon.